Sounds nice.
Okay. Welcome to my presentation on the research method of grounded theory. Start with the genre introduction. Grounded theory originated during the qualitative revolution of the 1960s. I didn't realize there was a qualitative revolution until recently. But up until that point, quantitative research, or randomized controlled trials specifically, had been viewed as the gold standard in the U.S. But in 1967, there was insight about student researchers only being prepared to test theories that were created by others. So grounded theory was proposed by the sociologists Glaser and Strauss, I believe I'm saying that correct, as a way to develop new theories. And since then, grounded theory has become one of the most popular methodologies today. Some of the characteristics of grounded theory. Grounded theory uses data to generate theory, as opposed to starting with a theory and then creating a study. Grounded theory uses inductive methods, so broad generalizations taken from specific observations and circumstances, and they're used to generate data. Also, grounded theory uses analytic thinking, constant comparison, which we'll describe more a little later, coding, and of course then eventually theories that come from these observations and data collection. Some of the major contributors that we mentioned earlier already, Glaser, and here's some sort of specific viewpoints of each of these major players. Glaser was a realist, he believed in explicit attempts to discover theory objectively. Strauss, who worked along with Glaser and Corbin, were critical realists. They were on a search for understanding and a search to find a middle ground between extreme realist and relativist. Chalmers was a constructivist, sort of on the opposite end of the spectrum, believing that theories can be co-constructed, that there are shared interpretations and many possible truths. So there's quite a bit of a spectrum here between these major players. So look at data collection and analysis. First, there are consistent elements in grounded theory data analysis. So it's not just some vague research approach. There are some specific elements that you find throughout all these different approaches. So we'll look at theoretical sensitive coding to start. So there are concepts and categories that come from the data. All of the notes, observations, memos are analyzed, and then there are categories and ideas that emerge from that. More specifically, there are a few different ways to code. There's open coding, where you break down data into themes and categories. Axial coding, which is connecting themes through open coding and establishing sort of the overarching concepts, the higher order ideas. And then selective coding, selecting a category and then studying how it relates to another category. Theoretical sampling is using the current theory to select participants without concern for generalizability. Grounded theory allows for a lot of flexibility in participants in the study. Constant comparison, another key feature that we hear throughout the literature, is linking ideas, finding similarities and differences, and constructing and deconstructing emerging categories. So grounded theory is this process of reviewing and comparing and compiling, coding, finding patterns, and then continuing with interviews and collecting data. Some analysis, further analysis perspectives. As we said earlier, Glaser was more of a realist. He was a subscriber to positivism. That is an explicit attempt to discover theory objectively. So Glaser's committed to this as a sound, objective research method. Strauss and Corbin, somewhat more in the middle again, believes in a search for understanding and a middle ground, and Sharma is a constructivist, a social constructivist, and believes that there are shared interpretations of many possible truths. Also, the analysis methods, as you can see, vary by researcher. For example, some advocate for coding after each interview before starting another. So there are these consistent themes, but there may be some different interpretations for how grounded theory is carried out, depending on one's view of grounded theory. Let's look at the pros and the cons, or the benefits and the challenges. And I can't seem to open it. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. So some of the benefits or pros of grounded theory: there are systematic procedures. You can avoid some challenges of other qualitative design research, according to Glaser. And there are immersive and powerful and flexible method. It's an immersive, powerful, and flexible method. The challenge is that it can be time-consuming, according to several researchers here that I read. There's extensive record keeping and rigorous records and memos. Also, it can be a difficult approach for younger researchers with the volume of data and the requirements for conceptualization. So it's very involved. Grounded theory takes a lot of time and some experience to understand how that emerges, how it develops, and how it works. Okay, let's see, we'll just look at a few of the references here. I did find some articles by Glaser. There were many of these grounded theories in sort of the healthcare industry, surprisingly. For me, it was a surprise. But more, I found also more articles in education recently. I used the textbook, and it seems like grounded theory continues to thrive and be a very popular qualitative research method. Thank you very much.